Hey everyone, I'm Jason Morgan, Content Director for Fleet Equipment. Welcome to Fleet Equipment Unscripted, doing something different today. We're at Heavy Duty Aftermarket Week. We're going to go walk the show floor. We've got Colin Shaw and Shannon O'Brien from MEMA with us, and we're just going to go see what we can see and maybe talk about some of the latest trends here at the show. You two ready?
Yeah.
All right, let's roll.
All right.
So this is one of the biggest years, right? I mean, a good turnout here, especially it seems like we've come out of the pandemic. It's full kind of back to normal levels. I know you have more than, 330?
Yeah, over 330 suppliers exhibiting at the show this year. We have over 2,600 attendees.
Wow.
That includes suppliers and distributors. It's the biggest attendees that we've had yet for HJW, so it's a record-breaking year.
That's fantastic.
And to be quite honest, I think we could do more.
Yeah.
I think what the team here has done under Shannon's leadership and working with our other associations, a lot of really cool, fun ideas. We've still got some more in our back pocket, so I think what you'll see in the coming years as well is how do we grow this even more?
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Yeah, well, and the MEMA really hosts Heavy Duty Dialogue, which is the day before the show starts, right? Mm-hmm. That was super well attended as well. Big crowd there, lots of cool talking points. Was interesting to hear a lot of the future technology stuff too. I know this kind of ebbs and flows, right? And being in the aftermarket is kind of where the rubber meets the road a little bit here.
Yeah.
So really interesting to see how that's going to play out and how the aftermarket will grow even with a lot of the new technologies, right?
Yeah, I think this misconception that, hey, there are less parts on an electric vehicle is something that we need to get past as an industry. Because if you've walked around or crawled around an electric truck or a hydrogen truck like we've been fortunate to do, they're very complex.
Right.
There's a lot of stuff going on. And any vehicle that operates at the rate and the pace that a commercial vehicle does, there's going to be service.
Right.
There always will be. And so making sure that people understand that, adapt to it, know what's going to be happening is really important. That's one of the reasons why we wanted to focus on it this year in our dialogue.
Right. Well, and Shannon, you did a great presentation on, I'm going to get the name wrong maybe, Talk from the Top.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay, good, because that's, I know that the T's can get me a little tongue twisted there. Really interesting perspective there as well, where all anonymous kind of, but executive sources, right? Can you tell me a little bit about what you do with that?
Yeah. Talk from the Top consists of one-on-one anonymous interviews that I conduct with, so MEMA has supplier members, and it's our membership's customer base in the aftermarket. So it's distributors and a few OES and dealer representatives as well. Okay. They all have to be top, so CEOs, presidents, VPs, the top person in charge of their aftermarket business. And basically, they were hour-long interviews. I went through a whole gamut of questions. Everyone was great. They sat with me. They gave me all their opinions. And the focus is on what suppliers can do to be better partners. Right, for the industry and with their distribution partners. Got a lot of great feedback. It wasn't all easy to hear, and it wasn't all easy to report on.
Right.
But this is their truth.
Yeah.
And we found it very helpful, and I hope our supplier base finds it helpful as well.
Yeah.
Just some areas to think about. Now, it wasn't a huge amount of interviews, but really what it is to get people thinking and get people talking, and just see how they can be better partners.
Yeah. Well, and so I wanted to ask about that too, because there were some really interesting talking points you had there.
Yeah.
The labor excuse was an interesting one, right? We wrote about that one.
And that one came out of nowhere. I didn't specifically ask about labor. My question to the interviewees was, what are you hearing from suppliers in terms of supply chain challenges?
Right.
Just about every single one of them said they're a little bit tired of hearing excuses,
Right.
especially that they can't get labor.
Right.
And not to say it's not true, but it's an excuse they didn't particularly like hearing them.
Right. Well, and I mean, there are shortages, there are labor shortages, there is all sorts of technician shortages, industry shortages, but I could see how it could kind of be like that thing, like, well, shortage, we got the shortage kind of thing. What is so now you are on stage, you have to present these things that are very realistic, but also, like you said, not super fun sometimes, but with the aim of making everybody better. Yeah. What's been the feedback after that presentation?
It's been excellent. It's been better than I anticipated. I have people coming up to me left and right at the show saying thank you for presenting that, and they want to hear more.
Okay.
I had a ton of content. I had to condense it into 20 minutes.
Right.
I have so much more to pull from there. I've had people say they want to hear me do a podcast or a webinar. They want me to come present at council meetings. So now I just got to find out what the next step is. How can I dig deeper into that info and just get more value out of that for our supplier base?
Right. Well, so when
I think that the other thing about that is I've tried to do stuff like that in the past, and I've paid a lot of money for stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I think the value of what Shannon was able to do as a representative of our trade association,
Right.
and what trade associations in general provide, is that ability to get access and open dialogue.
Right.
And, when I sat there and I listened to what Shannon was saying, I was like, wow, I have tried to get information like this my entire career.
Right.
I paid a lot of money for it a lot of times.
Right.
The value of that candid feedback is really unprecedented.
Right. Well, and it goes to really building that trust, right? I mean, even from a content point of view, I know that presenting anonymous sources can be controversial a little bit, right? You're like, how do we build this trust? But really, I think the proof is in the quality of the comments you get, right? It's very realistic. It resonates with what's going on. And it goes to build that trust even with your suppliers. I mean, when you reach out and tell people, hey, this will be anonymous, I'm the only person who's going to know anything about who I'm really talking to.
Absolutely.
Proving that out in your conversations then goes to build on that.
And I was really impressed by the level of honesty and depth that my interviewees provided. They really did trust us as an association that we were going to take this information and convey it correctly and accurately to suppliers, and that it was really going to drive some good conversations and good improvement. So I have to thank them for that, and I'm really looking forward to doing it next year.
Yeah, that's cool. So as you work to put on the show and even on the dialogue and you're planning out the kind of there, in the aftermarket, how are you trying to balance that kind of future focus of what's coming down the line and the potential growth with the actual nuts and bolts and ROI of what's happening in the industry today? Diesel technology still ruling the world and moving goods, right? And so I feel like it's kind of a balance, even for me, of deciding what to talk about. How do you all split that difference?
It's tough, and that's what everybody's struggling with these days. We have to keep our businesses running. We have to keep our operations running.
Right.
We have to fill orders every day, and that's not easy to do. We still have a lot of challenges. But we also got to keep our eye on what's happening 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now, and that keeps changing too. So it's just a continual challenge, and we try to focus on both and just finding that right balance, because both are equally important to our members to be hearing from.
Right.
And I think it's important, as like Shannon said, as an association, we have to be a little bit of a North Star for the industry and be on the lookout for all of these things.
Right.
We don't have all the answers, but we can raise the questions and see a little bit because of what we do in Washington or what we do with all of the broad members to understand, hey, you need to look out for this. These are what we're hearing. And so that's some of the value that we can provide and help keep focused on that North Star, where we need to go.
Right. Well, and to your point, too, we had, I think it was about more than 47 new exhibitors and suppliers here at the show, too, right? So I know that even externally from the trucking industry, people can look at trucks on the highway and think they're big and scary, but inside the industry, we know that it's super technology advanced, lots of innovation going on, and even within that segment, it can seem like, well, the aftermarket's 10 years behind, but I do get a sense that it's keeping pace right there with where the industry needs to be in terms of technology and service, products, relationships you mentioned, that kind of thing as well.
Yeah. Both Shannon and I have worked in the supplier industry, right? And we have been on the forefront of discussions and how do you stop and brake vehicles? How do you autonomously look ahead? And so, when people come to us and be like, oh, you work in trucks, these are some of the most passionate people on the earth.
Right.
They're people who care about making the world a better place on the roads, and that's what we strive for. And I can say that with confidence, we look at technology as a way to enable a better society, safer roads, and that's what this is all here about.
Any thoughts, Sarah, too, and just how?
We have to think, too, technology from the service and maintenance aspect as well. A technician today is not kind of the greasy guy that the stereotype is. It's a person behind a laptop working on diagnostics, right? So there's all aspects of our industry are moving forward and are very technologically advanced. And we have to use that, to tout our industry, because there's a lot of stereotypes out there about trucks and the people who service and work on trucks that just aren't true anymore.
Right, no, for sure. Well, hey, thanks for taking the time to walk the show floor. I had a great time talking with you both.
Thank you so much.
Have a great show.
Much appreciated.
Thanks, all.